And it looks like we're live, and it looks like there's already people here. Lance is here, says, "How you thrash?" And Lance, hey you, and thank you for reminding me to put up a reminder for the live chat tonight. Totally spaced on that. Hopefully, it got up in time where enough people will know to show up. Tracy Roth Myers from Tracy's Fractured History and More is here and says, "Hey there." Hey there to you too, Tracy. It's always great to see you. And so far, it's just the two of you. But hey, you're two of my favorites, so it's always great to see you guys. Oh, only 257 is here and says, "Is this going to be like the ending of Nosferatu from 1922?" Um, hopefully not. We actually did a watch along on Tug's channel with that not too long ago. Zuplex is here. Zuplex, hey, says happy Halloween. Super, always great to see you. And 257 says, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it first time when I was in middle school, but then again, I saw it, I think, last Halloween or the Halloween before on Tug's channel. Oh, people are pouring in now. Sean Innes is here, says, good evening, all. Lance, Tracy Duplex, only, and Thrasho. I like Thrasho. That's cool. Thrasho. And oh, only says Night of the Demons classic. That I have to see that movie again. I love that horror movie. I have to see it again. Definitely, definitely. Gary Carpenter's here. Oh my God, Gary, so good to see you. Gary Carpenter's here says ghoulish greetings, everyone, with a number of his top emojis. Gary, so great to see you. Welcome aboard. And we have 6 present and 3 likes. I know we can do better than that, people. While other people are pouring in, though, how's the sound and picture quality? Um, I'm gonna try to stay. I find actually if I don't move as much, the sound on this microphone is gooder. Problem is I'm always like looking and looking at this. So I may or may not be able to, but I will try. I will try. Keith E is in the house. He says Frankenstein and the bride went to a marriage counselor, and she says, I don't know why you don't get along. You were made for each other. That was an old Far Side, I believe, Keith. That is a absolute classic. Absolutely love it. Len says The Thing from 1982, one of my favorite Lovecraftian horror films. Oh, and of course, Keith, wonderful to see you. Wonderful to see you. Zublik says, great, T Pawns. Good. Thank you so much for the positive feedback. And oh my God, Pat is here from the golden rage of TV and says, looks and sounds great. Hi, gang. As good as can be expected with the source material. And Pat, it's always great to see you. Welcome aboard, by the way. Oh, and quite the coups you've been getting, by the way, with your interviews. Johnny Weissmuller's grandson. That is so cool. In fact, I get a really stupid question. I don't know how many children Johnny Weissmuller had, but was his father the guy who played the killer robot or the police robot, I guess you could say, in THX 1138? Um, if his father was Johnny Weissmuller Jr., then the answer is yes. But again, I don't know how many sons Johnny Weissmuller had. Where's Wikipedia when you need it? Zublik says Zombie 79 to only 257. That was a Italian. It was one of Fulci's movie, wasn't it? Zombie. It was actually meant as a sort of quasi sequel or prequel, but it was meant to take place in the Night of the Living Dead universe, if I remember correctly. Hi everyone. Hey buddy. Hi back to you too, Pat. Gary Carpenter says Halloween with the new Adams family. Um, and oh, Golden Rage says yes. So apparently it is Johnny Jr.'s son. Lance says, do you think McCready is the thing, Thrash? That is an excellent question. I haven't seen the movie again since that theory was presented to me, but there is a fun fan theory that both McCready and guy who played King in Platoon. He does the voice of the president in Rick and Morty. I know you guys are going to know this one. But that they're both elements of the thing. Only 257 says Super Night of the Living Dead from 68, Dawn of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead from 78, Day of the Dead 85, Return of the Living Dead from 1985, Friday the 13th, The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. Amazing Halloween picks. Those are and yes, 1985 was sort of a zombie renaissance. You had just gotten the release of Night of the Comet, and then you had two zombie movies. So yes, definitely. Oh, hey, Chance is here. The nostalgic pod blast says, "Hey, everybody, boo, and a boo to you as well." He goes on to say something, but the message was retracted, and a message retracted to you as well. By the way, 257 says yes, pawns. Thank you for confirming. I'm not sure what the question was, but thank you. A lot of people saying hi to Pod Blast as well. They should. Indy Spout says child played by David Keith. Indy, your timing was absolutely perfect. Yes, Keith, David. For years I used to call him Keith David. I used to get the names mixed up, but yes, David Keith, and yes, he played Childs. Uh, and Pat says, "Ha, Johnny's daughter's son." Oh, so apparently, it's not Johnny Jr. because Johnny Jr. was a man. But thank you for clearing that up. 257 says, Gary, seriously, I guess you haven't seen Night of the Comet. I guess I'm a little behind, so I'm going to find out. oh, here we go. Oh, here's where Pat says, no, he is the firstborn grandson by Johnny's daughter. There we go. Gary Carter says, I don't like zombies, and that's what 257 was pitching you, how you gotta like some zombies. A lot of people actually don't like any zombies. My wife doesn't like any zombie movies. And Zublik says, yes, it was an Italian giallo. I love giallo done right. Well, as I've always said, there's always room for giallo. And I'm gonna skip down. Oh, Indy Spout says Weissmuller was great, but I want an interview with the grandson of Cheetah. Oh wait, that was Chongo from Danger Island. Cheetah Chongo. Uh-oh, Chongo. Um Keith E says, was just hitting the like button, so I've missed the last 500 comments. You guys had 1,200 comments last time. 1,200 comments last time. And you wonder why I have trouble keeping up. Oh, Shauna, this also said Keith David, and Lance says Childs. Thank you. See, that's why I love you guys. If my brain shuts down temporarily, you're always there for the win. Tracy says, Pat, you and Loretta were so good. I really enjoyed that. Thank you very much. They really were amazing together. 257 says, Gary, seriously, I guess you haven't seen Night of the Comet. And now it makes up because Night of the Comet is technically a zombie movie, although I count it more as high science fantasy because it's really an homage to any number of post-apocalyptic movies. 257, you gotta watch my post on Night of the Comet. I talk about that. Watch it, and I'll know you've watched it when you leave a comment in the comment section below. Pat says, Johnny's. Oh, there we go. And I'm caught up. Daryl Johnson's here. He says, Bob, other brother Daryl, so great to see you. Gary Carpenter says, The Monster's Revenge. That's not a zombie movie. And in fact, I think The Monsters was actually canceled before. Yeah, The Monsters was 64 into 65, and Night of the Living Dead was 68. Yeah, so. In fact, I'm actually doing a new post. It's films that were influencers of Night of the Living Dead that you wouldn't think but are. And I'm behind again, so I'm gonna go back here and try to catch up. Let's just see. I left off with oh yeah, Bob from Daryl, Monster's Revenge. I'm gonna scoot through. Les Chavins is also in They Live Good Alley Fight. Yes, Keith David. At one point, the fight between Roddy Piper and Keith David was the longest uh, dual fisticuffs fight in movie history. That is to say, just two pugilists fighting hand to hand. It was the longest fist fight in cinema history. I think that's been surpassed since. Mike's Drones and RCs is here. Says hello, Thrash Pondo, and to you as well, Mike's. Thank you so much for joining us. Love the stuff you've been putting out, by the way. Great stuff. 257 says Pod Blast The Monsters is a classic TV series. It certainly is. And a lot of people saying hello and having fellowship. Michael's giving me a like. Thank you very much. 257 says, is this going to be like that movie from 1981 called Escape from New York, Zuper? Probably not. Probably not, because I'm not going to fight a guy with a bat with nails driven through it and a shield made out of a trash can lid. Shannon says to Mike, welcome and good evening, Mike. A lot of people. Oh, Pat says, you get it, bro. Podbless says, my retracted message was a duplicate. I was a zombie in The Walking Dead many times. You actually had a walk on The Walking Dead as a zombie on more than one occasion. That is cool squared. That is, even my wife would find that cool. Um, uh, there have been some other celebrities who've actually done that on The Walking Dead, and she thinks little things like that are actually very, very cool. I believe Drew, one of the fixer upper guys from the HGTV. I think he was one as well. I'm gonna skip through because I'm already a little far behind, and I'm gonna skip the people saying hello to each other. Gary Gabber says, "I walked with a zombie, haven't we all?" Tracy says, "Thank you, Mrs. Ponce, for sharing Robert with us." Numbskulls. She thinks you guys are great, and she actually she listens in every now and then. She's doing laundry right now. In fact, okay, it shows what I've devolved to. As you folks know, my den, the bridge, is really the garage, and it also functions as her laundry room. She has this really big, obtrusive laundry rack that the stuff that she decides is too delicate for the dryer and we have to hang dry is on. I closed it yesterday because I was watching a couple old sci-fi movies and having a few beers last night, and I just shut her down. And she's like, "Oh, you could have put it back." I'm like, "I didn't want to put it back wrong. I knew you'd like the way it was put back properly." 257 says Phantom of the Opera, the 1925 classic. How many versions of Phantom of the Opera are there? I want to say there's at least four. 25, that was the one with Lon Chaney Sr., isn't it? Zublik says she's putting a hex on you. I put a spell on you because you're mine. I did a dad joke about that, didn't I? Gary Carpenter says, which night out had Gilda Radner and Dan Aykroyd? Oh, Witches Night Out. I don't think I've seen that one. 257 says Frankenstein 1931, Bride of Frankenstein, great sequel, Son of Frankenstein, good sequel. I have to see Son again. Tug just did a retrospect on Son of Frankenstein, which I don't think I've seen since I was in film school. So I've got to see that movie again. Oh, I love the emojis, by the way, 257. And I just jumped, so I'm going to skip back a little bit here. Um, and here we go. Gary Cameron says both Frankenstein movies and great. Daryl John says, was there a dog of Frankenstein? I'm sure there was a hellhound. Hellhound No Fury. Skipping down. Oh, Gary Cameron says DJ Frankenweenie. wasn't that Tim Burton's student film? Lance Craven says, watch Carrie last night. Love that movie, by the way. Rest in peace, Miss Laurie. 257 says, okay, Bonds. Ken Wilkinson is here. He says, good evening, Bob. Mr. Wilkinson, so great to see you. Welcome aboard. Next time you and your dad are on Cape, please stop by my restaurant for dinner. I'd love to see you. Gary Carpenter says, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman are my favorites. Those were great. There was a certain chemistry with Lon Chaney Jr. and Abbott and Costello. I think that they just worked great together. I don't know if they were friends off camera or if just Lon Chaney. I've heard he was a very funny person in real life, so I think he may have just enjoyed the chance to do comedy so much that he worked really well with them. But I love the interaction with Abbott Costello and Lon Chaney Jr. 257 says Lance, good movie. Wait, is it the 1976 original and not the awful remake of 2013? Oh, you're talking about Carrie. Yes, Carrie, the original was much better. Zublik says, did you enjoy it, Lance, or was it in memory of Piper Laurie? Could it not be both? Shannon says to me specifically, I used to have fantastic recall. It's fading, although yesterday I recalled the name of a woman I have seen for 35 years out of nowhere. I actually patted myself on the back and congrats. Every now and then that happens to me. Every now and then, I can't. Well, I can't remember what I remembered. I'm getting a head start on senility, but no, someone I hadn't thought of in 30, like literally in the same amount of time, 35 years, shall we say, and they just popped into my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was, and I remember the name, and I'm like, that's. I had a very similar experience, and it is fun when you can remember something from that far back. I find it's not the long term though; the short term is what's really starting to slip. Like, you could tell me something, and 20 minutes later say, "What did I just tell you?" I'd be like, I'm gonna skip. Oh, and only says the 1976 classic, of course. And I'm just gonna skip a lot of people having fellowship amongst each other, which is great, but I'm gonna skip through that. Gary Cameron says the night that Dracula saved the world, or Halloween that almost wasn't. The Halloween that almost wasn't is that the one where the witch refuses to fly her broom, and they're afraid that won't commemorate Halloween, so they spend the entire show trying to bribe the witch into flying her broom. Um, 'Cause that's the only one I'm sure there might be others, but that's the one that just jumped into my mind. Oh, and then Lynn says, then I watched The Last Starfighter. Keith says, I hope Baked Beans and House of Alex are okay. Yes, and that goes for a lot of the people who aren't here. We get about what, 12 showed up? 12's a good number. But for all our absent friends, and that goes for Baked Bean, for House of Alex, for Tom, the Hungry Jerk, for Lisa Fields, for Cindy D, for Music Girl 67, for help me out here. There's Tug's not here. Uncle Joe's not here. Uh, Scott's not here. Um, uh, there's plenty who aren't here yet. They might show up later. They might show up later. But for everyone who's not here, we miss you and we're talking about you. Uh, Emily Miller. And well, yeah, I could do this all day. If you're not here, I wish you were John Collins. uh, Johnny Neutron, Jimmy Neutron. Zuperblick says, I think Baked Bean has left us. He said he had to take a sabbatical from the internet for a while. I didn't ask why. It was none of my business. But hopefully he'll be back at some point. Gary Carpenter says, Super Friends, Attack of the Vampire, The Ghost Meet Frankenstein, Voodoo Vampire, and Swamp of the Living Doom. I've never heard of Swamp of the Living Doom, but I love the title. Golden Rage says, "Speak for yourself. I'm with the dimwit team." I love it. I love it. Or as they say in Strange Brew, dimtwit. Uh, wow, I just jumped again. I am so far behind. But it's good because it's because we're being very interactive. Okay, I'm gonna skip down. And it says, I know he lives in Britain, Lance. Yeah, the time differences are tough. Gary Carpenter says, Scooby Doo to switch a witch and and the headless horseman of Halloween. Gary Carpenter says, who lives in Britain? A Baked Bean in House of Alex. Leonard Jamin says, it's Baked Bean. Yes, he lives in Britain. Pat says, we're posting my ghost story this week. Anyone catch it last year? Did and will watch it and repost this year. Indy Spout says there have been at least 6 films and 1 TV movie, I think, of Phantom of the Opera. 6? 6. I saw the, musical on, in Broadway years ago. 257 says, "Pawns don't watch, Renfield, it's a ripoff of the movie Dracula from 1931." Gary Carpenter's give us a number of emojis. And Tracy says to 257, "Your emojis are so cute." Uh Len says, "Tracy, am I cute?" Sean says, "The Shining, I've watched it so many times now and read a lot about different aspects of it. To me, mixing horror with some aspects of sex is the magic mixture. Also, Don't Look Now, 1973." RM is here, says, "Have you seen, have we got any mods? Please make RM go bye-bye." Tracy says, Gary says, "Tracy, what about me? Am I cute too?" Pablo says, "What, or should I say who is for dinner?" Doctor Who. John, this says Piper Laurie made that role in Carrie Moore in the remake was just as dull as could be. I think Piper Laurie stole the movie in The Shining. I really think she did. She was absolutely amazing. And 2000 says, "Pod blast who let the dogs out." Tracy says, "Gary, those are cool too." Pat says, "Seems not, folks need to hear it. It is a true one. May recite it again on BK's show to be determined." That, oh, by the way, speaking of which, when are we getting the retro pals back together, by the way? It seems to have been back burnerized. I something tells me I think everybody's like really, really busy, but Pat, keep me posted, please, please. Gary Cameron says, "I just love Van Helsing." I like Van Helsing, but they should have called it Captain Kronos. It's really a remake of Captain Kronos more than Van Helsing. 257 says, "Sean, it's awful remake. Too much CGI, and it was 13. Oh, PG-13. What were they on?" Liz Javen says, "Guys, just dropping in to say hi." Hi, okay. Well, then stay as long as you want. But are you feeling any better, by the way? I know you were kind of under the weather last week, and hopefully you're feeling better now. Zublik says, "Saw The Shining, Sean, and it is not a very conventional horror film, but can you expect from the genius of Stanley Kubrick?" And Gary Carpenter says, "Rest in peace, Laurie, Pepper Laurie." And Tracy says to Lance, "Take it easy, dude." Lot of people wishing Lance the best, hopefully Lance feels better. Definitely, definitely. Um, oh, and I just jumped again, so I'm gonna have to scoot back here. Oh, Emily is off flying? Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. I don't know where she's flying to, but I got nowhere to fly to. Oh, 2000 says, "I'm tired." I'm very sorry you're tired. I know how you feel though. I can't remember a time when I wasn't tired. Tracy says Van Helsing is a classic. Sean Ennis says to 257, "I agree. I do like Chloe Grace Moretz's. She was very entertaining in the first kick ass movie. The second one was awful. I hate the director, Jeff Wadlow." Oh, Emily's off flying. Pat says, "Dave's not here, man." 257 says, "Well, it's true. She was good in those movies, Sean. But the remake was awful, not worth watching." Gary says Halloween with the Dracula, and which is where she didn't want to fly over the moon. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that one. In fact, was it Artie Johnson? Didn't he play Igor? I haven't seen that movie since I think I was like 12 or 13. I remember it was kind of cute and funny though. Let's just see. And Indy Spout says to Sean Innes, "If Bob does the category he promised last week, Chloe may make another appearance tonight." Oh, that's awesome. Good, good, good. And Gary Cameron says their ears should be ringing. Sean says, "Oh, by the way, to me, I finally watched the Kurosawa movie, The Bad Sleep Well." It's an adaptation of Hamlet, basically, with a few interesting twists. I haven't seen that film. I did like Throne of Blood, which is his adaptation of that Scottish play, Macbeth. Um but Kurosawa was amazing. Tracy says, I saw The Night Stalker for the first time last night with Darren McGavin. For the first time? Well, I'm glad you finally got around to it, but have you ever checked if you get a second, they used to show it on the Sci-Fi Channel, you can still find it somewhere, but check out his TV series. It wasn't bad. It was sort of a precursor to, The X-Files. 257 says, "I finally watched Last House on the Left from the '70s again at 5 in the morning." Ooh, creepy, creepy. I saw that movie myself, actually. Gary Gummer says, "Swamp of the Living Dead" was, oh, The Challenge of the Super Friends. Oh, okay, now I'm with you, now I'm with you. And Gary 257 is sleepy. And I'm just gonna skip down because 'cause I'm way behind. Uh, Gary says, "Casper, when you very good." And he spouts says to Tracy, I wish I could see it again for the first time. Of course, I was 6 then, so maybe not." Shannon says, "A friend of mine loves The Last House on the Left. It's another movie that keeps giving in detail both in front and behind the camera." Wasn't that based on an old Swedish legend? In fact, there's a film, a Swedish film with oh the guy he played the bad guy in Strange Brew. All I can think of is Rutger Hauer. That's not his name though. Max von Sydow. Max von Sydow is in it. Thank you. And I'm just gonna try to catch up here. Oh, I think I jumped to Artie. Here comes Artie Johnson was in Love at First Bite. Henry Gibson. This is a Dracula special. Oh, Cindy D's here, says Great Tracy. Valiant Sorth says currently watching Salem's Lot. I loved Salem's Lot. I remember I wanted to watch it when I was a kid. I was like 12, 13 when it came out, and it was delayed for some reason. And I had to wait like a year to finally get a chance to see it. Oh, Mrs. Thrash had such a crush on Lance Kerwin. Um, I'm just gonna skip down because I just got caught up. Yes, a lot of people saying hello to Cindy. Oh no, Pablo says Lost in Space, aka Loused Up in Space in Mad Magazine. Gary 257 says good movie pawns. Teb says hello Thrash. It's never too late to join the party. No, Teb. In fact, I'm glad you came in. We're going to start the trivia game in a few minutes, but you were never too late. It's always great to have you. Daryl John says Night Stalker is on every Saturday night on Me TV. Daryl, thank you. I knew it was on somewhere because I just watched it not too long ago. Um, uh, and Sadili says I like Once Bitten better. Oh, and by the way, Gary, thank you. It was Henry Gibson, not Artie Johnson, but I knew it was an old '60s comedian somewhere. But yes, he did play Igor. I must have had a wires crossed in my head. It happens a lot. Yeah, I have so much information crammed in my head. Every now and then a wire gets crossed. Shona says interesting cast to Salem's Lot. Kerwin, David Soul, James Mason. Oh, James Mason. I thought he was excellent in Salem's Lot. Indy Spout says the Swedish film you're thinking of is The Virgin Spring. Bob, thank you. Yes, I've seen it. I haven't seen it in years, but I have seen it. Yes, it's The Virgin Spring, and I believe it was based on an old Swedish legend. And Gary Carpenter says, Cindy, I've only seen it once, but I found it on YouTube. Sean, 2007 says The Fog is a great movie. It certainly is. Um, and I'm just gonna scoot down here. A lot of people telling Tab, it's better late than never. Pablo says the Me TV's airs same old washed out Prince of Night Stalker. I wish Universal would remake the Prince. Oh, that's probably a good point. There, I haven't seen it in ages. Gary Gabriel says Watcher in the Woods and Return to the Rich Mountain with Betty Davis. People saying hi to Teb. Azuplik says Fog was pretty good. It's one of my favorites, actually. Jonah says, "Yep, I love John Houseman telling the ghost story at the beginning of the Fog." He tells ghost stories in two movies, actually. He also does it in Ghost Story. Ghost Story being one of my favorite horror movies of all time. Pat says, "Did somebody say Shazam?" Show, well, surprise, surprise, surprise. I said Shazam. And let's just see. Mr. Ben says, "Are those real books?" Oh no, this is actually a backdrop. It's like one of those room dividers. Mrs. Thrash got that for me actually as a gift because I sometimes I like filming like the living room and stuff, and it's nice to be able to have a break behind me. It just makes it look a little more like a studio. And a lot of people saying hi to Pat. Indy Spout says that nostalgic pod blast. I like the cut of your jib. Couldn't agree with you more about Cole Check. And Pat says, yeah. And Gary Carpenter says James Mason was perfect in Journey to the Center of the Earth. Join me, Pat Boone, and Gertrude the Duck as we journey to the center of the earth. And Mr. Ben says, "Tell us a joke, please, since you insist." So you want a new joke or an old joke? Actually, they're dad jokes. They're all old jokes. But I'll give you a Thrash Pondo classic. Did you hear about the caveman who invented the propeller? No. He has a huge fan club. Uh, oh, you want an old? Okay, you did actually, in fact, want an old joke. Okay, let's see an old joke, an old joke, an old joke. Knock, knock. Who's there? Cantaloupe. Cantaloupe who? Cantaloupe tonight. My father took the car. Oh. Oh well, thank you for laughing at that terrible, terrible, terrible. Oh, look who's here! Speaking of the devil, Lisa Fields is here. Says, "Hey, Thrash and everybody," and oh, Podblast says, "Joke. Where does Batman go to the toilet?" Well, all I can think of is that silly nursery rhyme we used to tell on the school bus. Batman's in the kitchen, Robin's in the hall, Joker's in the bathroom, peeing on the wall. So I'm gonna say the wall, like the Joker did. But anyway, tell you what, guys, after Podblast gives us the punchline, a lot of people saying, "Oh, here it is." Oh, Pablo says, "Why do zombies make better lovers?" This I gotta hear. Cindy D says James Mason says the movie he did with Lucy and Desi was his worst movie ever. Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that. 257 says, huge fan of the TV series Batman from the 60s, aren't we all? Uh, Pat says the atomic pile. Looks Batman smells. Oh, the bat room is right. Ah, and Gary Carpenter says only that's mine. Oh, what you mean is here? He says hello everybody. One finally made it, but unfortunately I can't stay. Only listen. Quite all right, quite all right. But I tell you what, how about we start the trivia game? Because remember, this was the one that we were going to do last week, but I couldn't do because I decided to do Miss Summers instead. Um, Unfortunately, they're not numbered, so I'm gonna have to kind of wing it. But anyway, it's going to be Hollywood celebrities who got their start, maybe not their first film, but a very early breakthrough film in horror movies. And as always, I'm going to start in no particular order because I didn't number them. But anyway, I'm going to start with what I presume to be number 10. Future TV horror icon first had a supporting role in I Know What You Did Last Summer. Was it A, Shannon Doherty, B, Jessica Alba, C, Sarah Michelle Gellar, or D, Summer Glau? I shall repeat. Future TV horror icon first had as a supporting role in I Know What You Did Last Summer. A. Shannon Doherty, B. Jessica Alba, C. Sarah Michelle Gellar, or D. Summer Glau. And again, I was going to try to start with an easy one, and apparently I did because you guys are out of the park on this one. Super, super. Why did you say Boris Karloff? Boris Karloff is not one of the suggestions. I was hoping someone would say Summer Glau because that is just priceless. Summer Glau, and I know you did last summer, but no, you guys are all. Oh, Dave's here. He says, "I see you. I see dead people." Yes, David is here, and I don't know if you're just saying "I see you" as in "I you see me," or if you're picking the letter C. But either way, I'm going to give it to you. But yes, Sarah Michelle Gellar is the correct response. Number 9. And if I get the numbers mixed up, please forgive me. This beloved ER star first had a small role in Return to Horror High. Was it A. George Clooney, B. Anthony Edwards, C. Enrique LaSalle, or D. Clancy Brown? And I shall repeat. This beloved ER star first had a small role in Return to Horror High. Was it A. George Clooney, B. Anthony Edwards, C. Enrique LaSalle, or D. Clancy Brown? And yes, Clancy Brown was in ER. um, Keith E says Z. I'm not sure if your keyboard's giving you trouble or Jim Carrey. Oh, Pablo's brought up an interesting point. Clooney was in The Facts of Life, but we all knew that. Yes, he was. He was also in a very short-lived TV adaptation of Look Who's Talking, and oh, he was also on Roseanne. I think for well, at least one season. My personal favorite is for those of you who knew there actually was a sequel to Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Yes, George Clooney is in Return of the Killer Tomatoes, and he actually steals the movie. Funniest bit in the whole film is a whole spoof on product placement, which is absolutely hysterical. And anyway, get a chance to check it out. But it looks like we've all kind of stopped giving guesses here. But for those of you who said George Clooney, you are correct. And so we've been talking about George Clooney. That more or less gave the game away. So now we're moving on to question 8. This actor, who had a breakthrough role in a cult nostalgia hit Diner, had an earlier part in Friday the 13th. Was it A. Paul Reiser, B. Kevin Bacon, C. Tim Daly, or D. Mickey Rourke? And I shall repeat. This actor, who had a breakthrough role in cult nostalgia hit Diner, had an earlier part in Friday the 13th. A. Paul Reiser, B. Kevin Bacon, C. Dim Taley. Yes, Dim Taley. That sounds like a Mad Magazine name, actually. Tim Daly or D. Mickey Rourke. Pat says baseball and dinner, calling friends, wishing you all a pleasant evening and better week. Bye for now. Thanks, Thrash Man. Um, Pat, thank you so much for stopping by. Your presence is always welcome. I'll try to talk to you this week, but love you. Form is content here. It says, I love Dottie, a rebel. Form is content. Thank you so much for joining us. Um, Gary Carter says, the mummy returns the mummy's hand. Pablo says, many claim Friday the 13th was Kevin Bacon's first role. Nope, it was Guardians of the Galaxy's holiday special. Animal House, actually. Yes, he was in Animal House. Did I say first? I meant to say early. I said he had an earlier part in Friday the 13th. And Chance, I think you and I have given the game away. Yes, in this case, it was Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon, who had an early part. But yes, he was, of course, in National Lampoon's Animal House. Moving forward to number 7, I think we're at. Number 7. Future 21 Jump Street breakout star had a supporting role in 1984's Nightmare on Elm Street. Was it A. Holly Robinson, bum, 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 B. Johnny Depp, C. Peter DeLuise, or D. Richard Grieco? I shall repeat. Future 21 Jump Street breakout star had a supporting role in 1984's Nightmare on Elm Street? Was it A. Holly Robinson again? Dun, 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 dun. B. Johnny Depp. C. Peter DeLuise. Or D. Richard Greco. And form is content. I think that you're still answering the last question, but yes, it was Kevin Bacon. But Lottie got this one too. Oh, Brogu is here. Brogu's here. Says hello, everyone. Brogu is here. You certainly are. We started the game already, but you're welcome to join in late and try to catch up as we can. Pod Blast says there was a gag credit in introducing Kevin Bacon in that Disney Plus Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. I like that. It's actually very, very funny. That is very, very funny. Daryl John says, I got you, Pat. Enjoy. Indeed, I guess he's like watching a baseball game and having dinner with family and or friends. So I understand why he had to split. But again, Pat, thank you so much for joining us. And Zublik says, message retracted, a message retracted to you. And David says, bacon. One of the funniest things I ever saw was they were advertising. This is back when they were doing the paint the town red, white, and blue, getting people to go back to New York years ago. And they go to the Stage Deli, which is one of the best delis in New York City. And a woman orders the Ben Stiller, and Ben Stiller actually comes out to the table, and she goes, "Oh, I forgot, I wanted to get that with bacon." And they bring out Kevin Bacon, as in, which I thought was good because everything's better with bacon, plus the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And I'm rambling now. But anyway, Johnny Depp is the breakout star to which I'm in reference to. And this would be number 6. This major Hollywood celebrity, known for their many SNL hosting appearances, had an early role in slasher flick He Knows You're Alone. Was it A. Alec Baldwin, B. Martin Short, C. Tom Hanks, or D. Steve Martin? And I shall repeat. This major Hollywood celebrity, known for their many SNL hosting appearances, had an early role in slasher flick He Knows You're Alone. And Emily Miller's here. They said you were flying. Oh, Halloween. It was a joke. I thought you were actually flying somewhere, like you were going to fly across the country to visit friends or something. But Emily, we were talking about you. We miss you. We're glad you're here. Now we don't have to miss you anymore. We're about halfway through the contest, but you can always watch the rest in replay. Cindy D says Steve Martin was never a cast member. Oh no, hosting. I'm sorry, did I say that wrong? I'll repeat the question. This major Hollywood celebrity, known for their many SNL hosting appearances, they were the guest host on several occasions, had an early role in slasher flick He Knows You're Alone. Was it A. Alec Baldwin, B. Martin Short, C. Tom Hanks, or D. Steve Martin? And the guesses are kind of all over the place here. But apparently, Kevin Scott 76 is here. Says, "Hey Thrash, on my way to host an open mic night." Oh, that sounds like so much fun. Kevin, please have fun. Have a great night. Thank you for stopping in to say hi. Please hit like before you go. And Daryl John says, "Bob the Ramblin' Man." I'm a Ramblin' Man, but I've made a lot of stops all over the world. Mhm. And let me just see what's going on here. David says Pac-Man. I actually remember. I remember He Knows You're Alone. There was a local channel that used to show slasher films. When you could just start getting away with that on TV when I was like early high school. So I actually saw this one. I didn't remember the star, and I'm going to give it away now. Tom Hanks. So anybody said C, you are correct. Tom Hanks. Yes, Tom Hanks had a small role in slasher flick He Knows You're Alone. Let's get some scores. Indy Spell says Hanks was the killer. Sean says, what was the last answer? I know I milked that one, didn't I? Zublik says you just missed Pat, Emily. Daryl John says, what was the last question? 5 for 5. I'm going to read this question one more time because apparently I got sidetracked, so people forget it was the last question. Only is 5 for 10. 5 for 5. I haven't read the other 5 yet. Emily says, I tried going to an open mic night. They heard my jokes and closed the mic. Zublik says 3 for 5. David says, really? Sean is like 4 for 5, doing well. Tracy says 1 for 5. Oh, I'm so sorry. Uh Keith E is 2.63 out of 5. Interesting judgment, but I'll take it. Gary Garber says, The Terror, The Uninvited. The Terror with Jack Nicholson, I own. The Uninvited, I'm trying to place, but Lisa Fields is 4 for 5. Emily says, I missed Pat. My life is over. He'll be back, I'm sure. Gary Carpenter is 5 for 10. Technically 5 for 5 because I haven't given the second 5 yet. Tab is 5 for 5. Zubik says, yep, you just missed him. Emma Miller is 0 for 1. Entry says, I am having fun. That's the whole, you have to have fun with these. I'm going to read that last one just to make sure. It was this major Hollywood celebrity, known for their many SNL hosting appearances, had an early role in slasher flick He Knows You're Alone, and the answer was Tom Hanks. I shall continue with the second half. Before landing her breakthrough gig as SNL cast member, this actress had a role in cult flick Troll. Was it A. Gail Mateus, B. Nora Dunn, C. Mary Gross, or D. Julia Louis? Right out the gate, Indy Spouts with Dreyfus. Yes, that's D. I shall repeat. Before landing her breakthrough gig as SNL cast member, this actress had a role in cult flick Troll. A. Gail Mateus, B. Nora Dunn, C. Mary Gross, or D. Julia Louis Dreyfus. David says Tina Louise. And Miller says, I only watches My Bloody Valentine because it had Jensen Ackles. And there was a girl in it, actually. And of course, bear in mind, I was like 12, 13 at the time. So she was like a sexy older woman of 19. But there was a woman in that I had a huge crush on. And I think I saw it just so I could check her out. And apparently, Keith E says T. No, Mr. T wasn't one of the selections. Uh, Shannon says, I'm gonna say I would have got that wrong, so not to me. Gotcha. And Emily says, wait until you see how fast I am for your leprechaun question, Bob. Actually, no, I didn't add that one. I thought that one was too obvious, but apparently this one was too. Yes, it was Julia Louise Dreyfus. Oh, by the way, help me out here. Help me. I think I might be like slipping my gears again. I could have sworn wasn't Julia Louis Dreyfus? Didn't she play a one of those roller skating waitresses on the one of those drive-in diners in Carrie? Or if it wasn't Carrie, it was some other horror film. But I could have sworn that where the mean kids all go out for like food, and one of them right in front of his girlfriend is checking out this really, really, really hot um, uh, waitress at this like drive-through restaurant, and I could have I'm not 100% it was Carrie, but I could have sworn it was Julie Louise Dreyfus in this walk-on part as a waitress in a old horror movie. And Dave says Evil Dead. No, it wasn't Evil Dead. Dave, I'm gonna say Liz Taylor. Emily says somebody mentioned they didn't like slasher films. The version I watched was the remake. Oh, I gotcha. And Shannon says, I don't think so. Maybe PJ Souls that you're thinking of. No, this person had raven hair. But again, I might be just mixing my movies up, and I also sometimes mix celebrities up. Like I can't think of a suitable example off the top of my head. Oh, I just did. I was working in the video store once, and this lady came in and said, "Do you have yours, mine, and ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda?" And I said, "Jason Robards." And the woman looked at me like I had two heads, and she says, "No, Henry Fonda was the father, or at least the stepfather, in yours, mine, and ours." And I'm like, "I think it was Jason Robards," and I found it for her, and she took the greatest pleasure in going, because yes, it was Henry Fonda, but and I had seen the movie, but for some reason I was just picturing Jason Robards in the part. He had played a naval officer in a couple other films. Maybe that's what I had a wire crossed. But I could picture him saying lines from that movie that were said by Henry Fonda. So it's funny how the mind plays tricks on you, doesn't it? But Emily Rose says Raven hair and ruby lips. Whoever they are, I love them. In any event, I've gotten off topic yet again. So yes, it was Julie Dreyfus, and I'm going to move on now to question four. This multi-Oscar nominated actress featured in horror comedy farce Psycho Beach Party earlier in her career. Was it A. Amy Adams, B. Hilary Swank, C. Renee Zellweger, or D. Charlize Theron? I believe it's actually pronounced Taryn, or it should be, but in any event, I shall repeat the question. This multi Oscar nominated actress featured in horror comedy farce Psycho Beach Party earlier in her career. Was it A. Amy Adams, B. Hilary Swank, C. Renee Zellweger, or D. Charlize Theron? Oh, Paris Hilton. Ooh, a lot of you seem to be getting this one. I thought this one was a toughie, even though I've seen the movie. I thought this one was a toughie, but a lot of you are getting it. Zublix says message retracted. Gary Carpenter says, "M, if you like him, you should go out with him for Halloween." I missed the first part of that exchange, so I will leave it up to both of you. Cindy D says, uh, "They're they're on. It's pronounced. Oh, they're on. They're on. Shirley's they're on. Oh, I like that. But I thought because South African tends to borrow from the Germanic languages, it would be a hard T like Talon. But I like they're on better. Let's just see. Because I saw the movie and it was awful. I saw that I was nursing a hangover. I had one of the last really bad hangovers of my life. I was drinking gin and I had overindulged and I had the worst hangover and I watched it and it was like an out of body experience. Chan says grilling a baby Swiss bacon cheeseburger be back. Sounds delicious. Although I'd have gone with cheddar. Gary Gabner says Tracy, he could be your new boyfriend. Andy Spout says I consider myself the Pied Piper of crappy horror movie trivia. Jonathan says Amy Adams is one of those actresses that gets better with age. Really falling in love with her. I can see that. I can see that. David says saw too bloody and gruesome. Emily says, Gary, if Robert Englund wanted to take me out on Halloween, I wouldn't say no, neither would I. Daryl John says, have you seen Dracula's dog? David, I haven't actually. And Emily says, Indy, you could be known for much worse. And Gary Carpenter says, I've heard of it. Zublik says, you had to be drunk to watch it. I can see that. Yeah. 257 says, Zublik, some with the awful movie Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. I own that. Um, Gary Cameron says, I'd be drunk to watch any slasher movie. And David says, Amy Adams, is she Lee Adams' family? No, but that would have been awesome if she was. And Daryl Jones says, it's a movie to miss, Gary. It wasn't good. I love the concept. I love this sort of like against type mismatching of genres done in the style of a 60s beach movie. It was a neat idea. It just didn't but again, it was like an out of body experience for me. But anyway, Amy Adams is the answer. And I will move on to question 3. This three has three in it. This three men and a baby actor first featured in a creep show segment. Was it A. Steve Gutenberg, B. Tom Selleck, C. Ted Danson, or D. Colin Quinn? And yes, Colin Quinn was in Three Men and a Baby. I shall repeat. This three men and a baby actor first featured in a creep show segment. Was it A. Steve Gutenberg, B. Tom Selleck, C. Ted Danson, or D. Colin Quinn? Answers kind of all over the place here. but I see the correct one with some people. Um, oh, I don't want to give a hint. That would give the game away. But anyway, I look for a few more answers to come in. Oh, some people like Keith E just guessed D. um, sorry, no. I threw that in as a red herring. He was in the movie though, and I think he's a great comedian. Pardon me, I'm parched. John H is here. Says I saw Steve Gurtenberg at an autograph show in town last month, but I didn't get his autograph. Oh. John H goes on to say, I do like a story I read once about how Robert England fell asleep in his dressing room with his makeup on and was shocked when he woke up and saw himself in the mirror first. I can see that. I can see that. Zublik says Adrienne Barbeau wasn't one of the choices. Sorry. She was in Creepshow, but she wasn't one of the choices. And she didn't star in Cheers or Three Men and a Baby. I just gave it away. Thank you. Okay. Ted Danson. Ted Danson was what we were looking for there. C. Question 2. Before his breakthrough role in cult gangster flick Mobsters, this actor had a walk on in cult psychological horror homage film The Stuff. Was it A. Pat Dempsey, B. Christian Slater, C. Richard Greco, or D. F. Murray Abraham? Before his breakthrough role in cult gangster flick Mobsters, this actor had a walk on in cult psychological homage horror flick The Stuff. Was it A. Pat Dempsey, B. Christian Slater, C. Richard Grieco, or D. F. Murray Abraham? And if you don't know the answer, you should have watched my retrospect on The Stuff while we were at it. That's your homework for tonight. Watch The Stuff retrospect that I did. Leave a comment in the comment section below. And Tug is here and guessed incorrectly. But Doug, it's so awesome to see you. And again, I am so sorry. I had to reschedule part B of our show today. I won't bore you with the details, but I had one of those weeks where everything had to get postponed, and it all ended up having to be done on the weekend, specifically today, because it was my first day off since last weekend. So again, thank you so much for your understanding and welcome to the party. John H says, I love Ted Danson's pre-Cheers taxi role where he played the rotten hairdresser. That's hysterical. Louis dumped gel all over his head when Elaine Nardo wouldn't do that. Exactly. That's actually he actually did a lot of this and that before he got the starring role on Taxi. But we're on the home stretch. So question 2. Um, oh, wait a second. I haven't told you who was in the stuff. Are you guys still guessing? Well, probably not. It was Pat Dempsey. Pat Dempsey had a small role in the stuff, and um, I know I love the flick. So, anyway, the number one question in this game is: this future starlet had an early starring role in a Dario Argento psychological horror flick. Was it A. Iona Sky, B. Juliette Lewis, C. Diane Lane, or D. Jennifer Connelly? And I shall repeat. This future starlet had an early starring role in a Dario Argento psychological horror film. Was it A. Iona Sky, B. Juliette Lewis, C. Diane Lane, or D. Jennifer Connelly? You see, Indy, I couldn't do Leprechaun. Everyone, everyone knows that uh don't you dare tell me. Um Friends. Oh dear. The girl from Friends. Okay, you can tell me. The girl, Rachel. Rachel. Rachel from Friends was on Leprechaun. Uh, it, Wow, people are coming out of the woodwork. Indy Spells told me 3 times, and Zuplex, and Sean, and Indy Spells. It's because I told you not to tell me. It's because, isn't it? But Rachel was the name I was looking for anyway. But yeah, Jennifer Aniston, of course. But I couldn't think of that either. But I couldn't think of her real name or her character's name. But Key says Ted Danson used to do. Oh, Ted Danson used to go out with Whoopi Goldberg. Yes, he certainly did. Cindy D says Danson played the boyfriend of Laverne. He was a firefighter and died before he could marry. I remember that. Oh my gosh, I do. I remember that. She also dated um Tonight Show dude from Massachusetts. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. She dated him too. Emily says, "Do trivia on Labyrinth, and I'll get at least half right. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will." Daryl John says, "Air bubble go off, Bob. Air bubble go off, Bob. Did the air bubble go off? I'm sorry if the air bubble went off." Indy Spout says the Jennifer Connelly movie was phenomena. Yeah. Oh yes, it is. Yes, it was Jennifer Connelly did the Argento film. We were just having so much fun playing. Why can't Bob remember anything? And Chen says, I gave you a shout out on my latest live just before you went live. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chance. And guys, check out Chance as well. Check out the Nostalgic Pod Blast. He's been putting out some great stuff. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but he just did one on comic books. It looks great. Great. Daryl Jones says, Jennifer Connelly. I know, right? Tug says, Emily, my wife just got a ceramic figure of the worm in Labyrinth. Oh, yeah, I remember you mentioned that in your unwrapping. Yes, you sure did. And Johnny says, Jay Leno. Thank you. The talk show host, yes, was Jay Leno. Um, I'm really having a tough time remembering people tonight, but Jay Leno was also on Laverne and Shirley. And Gary Cameron says David Bowie was in Labyrinth. That I knew. Yeah, dance, magic dance. And Pod Blast says, I give you a shout out at the end of every Pod Blast. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope it helps you. It can't hurt, but thank you. Emily says, I'm jealous, Tug. And Tracy also says, Jay Leno. From Weymouth, I believe. One of those suburbs of Boston that start with W. Pablo says Jennifer Connelly is in The Rocketeer. She looked amazing in that movie. She was absolutely amazing in that. Oh, yeah, let's get some scores. Zuplex is 6 for 10. Gary Cameron says that's a great movie. It was. It was. Only is 8 for 10. Sean is 6 for 10. I talked again in the second half. Tanked again in the second half. Gary Carpenter is 7 for 10. Pod blesses. Jennifer Connelly is married to Vision. Excellent. Teb also says Jennifer Connelly. Shannon says Paul Bettany equals Vision. And Tug says that is correct, Pod Blast. Cindy D says Jay Leno got his start with J.J. Walker on an episode of Good Times. I never knew that. I honest to God, I never knew that. That's great. I remember him, if you remember Madam's Place, the takeoff on ironically, the takeoff on late night talk shows where Madam had her own late night talk show. Uh he was like the in-house comedian, and he would come out and do sets. And he said this has got to be 40 years ago now, more. But he told a joke, which I was like a kid. I thought it was the funniest thing. He had just got married, and Madam says, "How's married life treating you?" And he goes, "Well, I find I'm not dating as much." And for some reason, I thought that was the funniest thing I ever heard. But that's what I remember him first from. Oh, and Keithy says, "Thank you for the participation trophy." Well, that's fun that we can all participate. Even I participate in these. Tab is 10 for 10. Excellent. And Cindy is 7 for 10. Very, very good. Tug says, "Oh, for one, I guess we can do again in replay." Derek Abner says, Jay Leno, who appeared in Alice. He did? I didn't know that. Shannon says, hey to Tug. Brogu says, Mine doesn't matter. I started late. Well, Brogu, you always started right on time with us, but you can always watch the rest in replay. But Brogu, thank you for joining us. Cindy D says JJ Walker was friends with Jay Leno and David Letterman. That, wow, ironically, because they became one of the two big late night rivals. Tracy said, I loved Madam. I thought Madam was hysterical. I still miss her to this day. Gary Carpenter, Dave got three. Respectable. Gary Carpenter says, Cindy, I really like JJ. He's funny. He really is. Emily says, I'll try to make it back. Son is on the phone. Tell him we said hi. Enjoy the rest of your evening. So glad you can stop by. Emily. Oh, 2000 says Alice, sweet Alice. A lot of people having fellowship. Cindy D retracted a message, and message retracted to you too. Only 257 says confirms great cult flick with puns. Thank you. Gary Campbell says only know the TV show. Gary Campbell says, what about Drop Dead? Gorgeous movie, Gary. Emily is still lurking. Trace says, score, don't ask. Oh, I'm sure you did fine. As long as you had fun. David says more into classic horror. I can do classic horror. I can do classic horror. And he says 10 out of 10. Take that, Suzanne Summers. Wow, wow. Cindy says yes. JJ Walker was great. Gary Carpenter. Uh, only says is CCC Films a channel? I'm not sure. I'll just see. I'm gonna check down here. 2000 is or 70s horror. I love 70s horror. You know what I should do? I should do those old 70s made for TV horror movies. Half the answers are going to be William Shatner. But yeah, that could be fun. There was some really great uh marginal budget 70s horror films. I used to go when I would go to visit my grandparents. Um my they had finished The Cellar and do like a family room, and I'd watch old schlocky horror films with my uncles who weren't much older than I was, but we used to love those old made for TV horror movies. Indie Spout says Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park. My mom made me go to bed before that one was over, and I never forgave her for not being able to see the ending. John H says, does seeing Vincent Price on Brady Bunch today count for horror? That was kind of a scary one. It's about a curse. Um, yeah, we'll count it. Tug says this is the month for horror. It certainly is. It certainly is. Um, Cindy D says loved him in that show as well, Gary. A lot of people loved him in the Brady Bunch. That was not a three-part episode. I thought that one was like technically a short movie. 257 says Magic Movie from 1978 was good. That's the one. Is that thing of I have seen that one. 257 says Killdovers are awful. It really was. Zublik says there was one with Cornell Wilde and Gargoyles. I think it was called Gargoyles. It was called Gargoyles. When I worked in the video store, an old friend of mine, that was like he said that when he saw that when he was like 12 years old, it scared the Bee Gees out of him. And I found that in my video store and I bought it for him as a gag present. And yes, it was Cornell Wilde who also did No Blade of Grass. Uh, Pablo says magic is creepy. It certainly is. Tug says there's an interesting 70s Frankenstein miniseries with Jane Seymour. Yes, yes, and she's really hot in it. And I love the ending. And it's actually it's pretty. I remember I watched it. I think someone gave it to me as a gift. I haven't watched it since. Dave is here. Oh my god, Dave Sundstrom is here. Says hi, y'all. Dave, I am so glad you made it. Lo- I love that video you did on Suzanne Plachette, guys. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I love the Susan Plachette video. But you know what? I love all your stuff. Oh, and I did very respectfully in your rifleman trivia game, by the way. Oh, and I know you guys like my trivia games, but Dave's are amazing. I always love to do your trivia games, Dave. Dave, I'm so glad you came by. And Dave, when are we going to be able to get together and do another Retro Pals event? We're still going to do part two of 80s crushes. But thank you so much for joining us. We were just talking about you, actually, recently. Oh, and Dave says, just got home. How's the stream going? Even better now that you're here, Dave. It's always better with you. Lublick says, yes, Duel Indie. Duel is possibly the best of the made for TV horror films. Daryl says, Gargoyles had Scott Glenn in it. It certainly did. Oh, Dave says, Night Tracy. I guess Tracy's crashing. She has to work early. Thank you very much. Have a great night, Tracy, for joining us. Love you. Dave says Steven Spielberg made a horror movie. He's several actually. He did not Dark Shadows, Night Gallery. He did the Night Gallery. Teb says, which movie released in 1970 do you love the most? Star Wars, Saturday Night Fever, Closing Encounters of the Third Kind, Smokey and the Bandit, Annie Hall, Bridge Too Far. There's not a movie there that I didn't love, but I'm gonna have to go with Star Wars. Probably second would be Close Encounters. Then I would go with Annie Hall, Bridge Too Far, Saturday Night Live, and Smokey and the Bandit. But I love all of them. Oh, Dave says you're too kind, Thrash. No, you're too kind, Dave, and it means a lot that you stopped by tonight to join our fellowship. Thank you. Podbless says I like Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. That's a horror movie. The one with Lindsay Lohan was, um, and yeah, magic. Anthony Hopkins, a very young Anthony Hopkins with hair. He's actually in it, and help me out here. Was Anne Margaret the woman he was crushing on? I haven't seen the movie in ages, but it's all kind of coming together in my head. So let me know. Oh, and Daryl says Big Daddy Dave. Gary Gabber says Gargoyles also had Jennifer Salt and Cornel Wilde. Cornel Wilde had a tendency of movies that he directed, he usually had parts in as well. Not always, but usually. Here's one for you, little trivia, which I now can't use in my trivia games. In No Blade of Grass, he actually wrote, composed, and sang the theme song. It's a sort of like folksy song. That's the only way I can describe it. Sorry, but so is coming back on me. Oh, Dave says you pick a date, Thrash. I will get back to you in the next day or two. I promise. I gotta check the old calendar. I don't want to commit to something I can't do. See under tug. Sydney says you need ENC for crushes. To Thrash. Well, I can certainly see that. Oh, Dave just jumped, but let me just see here. Oh, Dave saying hello. Um 257 says Lady Ice movie pawns. Indy Spot says the Norlis tapes. Sean Innes says Star Wars. I was 11. Hands down winner. Death to Disco movement was already about in the Northeast by then, but I still watched everyone once in a while. 207 says Pop Blast. I love the heroin movies. I thought you meant Herbie movies. Either way. Johnny says, I like the Herbie films too. Dave says, no ENC, but I might have a couple of bonus guests. Oh, I love bonus guests. Excellent, excellent. And he says, the horror at 37,000 feet. I just watched, believe it or not, I actually just somehow, I was looking for some other made for TV horror movie. I can't remember which one. And I found the horror at 37,000 feet, which I believe I watched back in the 70s when it was on, and I watched it again. And it's sort of the Exorcist meets Airport is the only way I can describe it. It's just surreal. And of course, you got Will Shatner, who did Terror at blah 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 feet from the Twilight Zone. It's just surreal. It really is. But yeah, I have just seen it. Oh, and by the way, we're talking about Spielberg and made for TV horror. This is a sci-fi movie. Mr. Sci-Fi talked about this, and I went and I found it on YouTube, and I loved it. It's Terror in the not Terror in the Year. You know what? I actually do a on my channel, I do a review. It's LA 2017 is what yeah, that's it. LA 2017. It's a post-apocalyptic film. Um, which you know what? I'm not even gonna tell you anything about it. Just either watch my retrospect and decide if you want to watch it, or just go out and watch it. But it's a made for TV sci-fi movie, and it's actually pretty darn slick. And Indie Spell only 257 says Sean, classic movie, Star Wars Holiday Special, horrible but watchable. I was actually being punished and I couldn't watch that too. I was being punished a lot when I was a kid. And generally deservedly. Big Guys 45 here says hi. Gary Carpenter says, great to see you, by the way. Big guys. Oh, and I love those Lost 45s you're putting on your channel. Thank you. You know what? If Dan, I think he was predisposed and I think he was busy tonight. He said he had something going on. He's probably shopping for a stove, but we could do links to all the channels. But anyway, you guys all know one another. Gary Carpenter says Night of the Grizzly. Night of the Grizzly wasn't made for TV. I saw that in the theaters. Well, I saw part of it. Halfway through my mother decided it was too violent. Mom, I'm not picking on you, Mama Thrash. I am not picking on Mama Thrash. I just some of the things actually have stories behind them. I was like 8 or 9, and she decided that Night of the Grizzly was too intense for me. So we left before the movie was over. And you know what? I'm sure it was. But Keithy says, David, I was just happy to participate in the trivia tonight. Well, we're always happy to have you, Keith. You're amazing. Thank you. Johnny says, I turned 12 this summer when Star Wars came out. I didn't like it much. Maybe only one who didn't. I would 77. I turned 10. I turned 10 in August of 67, and I loved it. But hey, to own their each. Oh, Big Guy says I bought some more records today. That is awesome. Please do post on them. Tug says somebody was talking about magic on my channel today in the comments of the Psycho review. Really? You know what? I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, there's a connection there, isn't there? And Shana says, Keithy, are you doing okay, buddy? Yeah, Keithy, you doing good, man? Hopefully you're doing good. Hopefully you're doing good. And 257 says to geek cool. Oh, Tug says, I miss Ian too. He still owes me a stream. Yes, we wish all the best to uh ENC and Mrs. Carlin, the new Mrs. Carlin. We wish you all the best and hopefully to see you very, very soon. Dave says, one eye, one purple eater. The eye, that song, was that a movie too? I don't think it was a movie, though they may have made reference to it in a movie. Oh, I see Tug saying hello to Melissa. I didn't see you pop in, Melissa, but a lot of people saying hello to you. Melissa, so good to see you. You must have been commenting when I did my last oops a jump. But Melissa, welcome to the party. Cindy says it's Mama Thrash. She loves that moniker, by the way. And and my mother was an amazing mother. Did a lot of wonderful things for me. Made a lot of sacrifices for me. She probably shouldn't have. And I don't know if I ever showed her how much I appreciated them, or at least appreciated them enough at the time. So, Mom, please don't think that I'll use this as a forum to get back at you for things I didn't like you doing when I was a kid. Yeah, you're a great mother. Love you. And Indy Spout says Crowhaven Farm and Night of the Dark Shadows, which might as well be the same 70s made for TV movie. Night of the Dark Shadows. Why is there a bell ringing in my head? Gary Cameron says the Crow movie I never saw. Oh, there's Melissa. Melissa says hi to Tug. And a lot of people saying hello to Melissa. And Tug, Pablo says they showed Grizzly on CBS late night movie a lot in the 1980s. So he's partially. Oh, I see. I guess if you show a movie enough on TV, that's a countsies. Like for example, um, Kingdom of Spiders. I guess Kingdom of Spiders had a theatrical release, but I remember it as a TV movie. Um, but I was actually talking to Terry Talks Movies, and he said no, it was theatrically released. but sometimes you just remember a movie as a made-for-TV movie. So I'll buy that. I'll buy that. Um, but I'm speaking specifically of the ones that were actually made by studios, like the ABC Monday night of the week, that type of situation. Uh, let's just see what we got going on here. Zublik says, but she is still alive. My mother, yes, very much so. She lives with me. She's not here as we speak. She actually went to visit her sister, Auntie Thrash, who actually lives um, just outside of Boston. We were just talking about Boston earlier. She lives just outside of Boston. Yeah, they're gonna have a nice visit. I actually helped her pack a car today because I am a good son. Yeah. But but we all do what we can. Oh, looking at the time, I see we're actually getting close to that time. So this is the time where I start ignoring comments and start extolling you people and telling you how much I love doing the show and how much I love having you all with me. And I do, and I do. You guys are great. I really look forward to these. And this was a particularly fun and interactive one. And again, I want to say if I missed anyone's comments, skirted over it, or didn't give it the attention you felt deserved, please bear with me. I every comment means a lot to me. I just have to hurry to get to them all. In fact, here we have one specifically to me from Sean, and it says Thrash Pondo did his good deed for his mom. Good job, kid. Thank you. Dave says, anybody remember I desire? I don't. It sounds good though. Tug says, ignore this comment, Bob. I will. I will ignore it. Zuplex says fun until the trivia. Ouch! I work very hard on those Superplex. Andy Spell says thanks for the trivia, Bob. You're very welcome. Cindy says we love you too, Thrash, and I love you too, Cindy. Only 257 says what, Dave? Oh, I desire. What do you desire? Melissa Foster says the scariest movie I ever watched was a video rental that my parents took out to watch was an obscure B-rated horror movie called is Parasites with Demi Moore. Was that a 3D movie? Dave says you're great, Bob. Thank you. No, Dave, you're great, and thank you. Was Parasites a 3D movie? I do remember a 3D movie called Parasites. Emily says sorry I wasn't as invested as usually am. I'll make it up for you next week. Emily, your presence is more than enough. SJ, and I'm always going to put your name. SJ Miola is here. SJ Miola is here. SJ, good to be here. It's you, Colorado buddy SJ. Yeah, I'm guessing that's your Colorado buddy SJ. Yeah, and SJ Miola. I'm going to get your name right sooner or later. I know I always call you SJ because I can do the Miola part, but I'm going to work on it and get it. SJ, I'm so glad you're here. Greetings to Colorado from Massachusetts. Don't be such a stranger, man. Don't be such a stranger. Sadly, we're just about to sign off, but it's so good to see you. Hope everything is okay your end. Oh, Dave says it's an ABC TV movie about vampires with David Naughton. So he did a movie about vampires and werewolves. That is cool squared. And he drinks Dr. Pepper, don't you know? And that's the best I could do on such short notice. Oh, Podblast is also curious about Parasites as well. Gary Cameron says Thrasher, I watched the show Speakeasy, and they had a video of Boston ghost stories. Oh, I love Boston. Boston has some of the best ghost stories. Actually, New England as a rule does. New England loans itself to the whole horror genre. I have some great ghost stories myself, actually. And I will probably share them with you possibly for Halloween live chat or something related. SJ says I keep taking my glasses off for dramatic effect. David not making it yet. Making it. That was a TV show, wasn't it? I mean, I know it was a song form, but I believe it was also a short-lived TV show. But in any event, Sydney says making it to the top. Loved that song, indeed. Yes. Um, Oh, and Tug says, last minute trivia. In the classic Universal horror days, which actor played Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, and the Wolfman? Christopher Lee. That's my I have to go with Christopher Lee. Please let us know in the comments below because that's a great question. SJ says Karloff is my guess. That's a great one. Uh, Pablo also says Karloff. Johnny just making it was a short-lived sitcom that used the song as a theme. Yes, I remember it. I think I only saw one episode. It may only run two. Didn't it take place in a roller rink or something? It was the late 70s, early 80s. And oh, come on, Tug. Come on. Come on. Don't keep us in suspenders. Lon Chaney Jr. Ooh, Lon Chaney Jr. I like my answer better, Christopher Lee. Although now that I think about it, I can't think of a time he played the Wolfman. He did play a vampire, he did play Frankenstein, and he did play a mummy. But I can't remember a Wolfman. But in any event, guys, uh, again, get a motor, big day tomorrow. A long day today, but I couldn't pass this up. But anyway, be good, be safe, be careful. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.